But if you don't attempt or you don't fail forward, you will never receive the brilliance of what the universe has given to us. Like a vision is a forward focus. And I
Welcome
think
to Unstoppable Podcast with Harry Sardinas, inspiring conversations with influential millionaires, investors, thought leaders, entrepreneurs who are making a massive difference with their innovative products and services, and sharing the challenges and wisdom of how they sold their first million.
Yeah, but James, look, if you're in Australia, the weather is good, you have an amazing beach there, you already make one multi-million pound business. Why you don't go to the beach? Why you don't rest? Why you don't travel the world and then you go and you go in business again? It's already a challenge to create a multi-million pound business. And now you have done it several times again and again and again. So um, why you do that?
why do I do that? So it actually stems back to the meaning of the word Amala. So in 2006, I lost my mum due to breast cancer, unfortunately.
Oh,
So
I'm
when I was
sorry to
14
hear.
years of age. And the name Amala is actually named after her. It has a really, really great meaning that means something a lot more to me than just the dollars and cents. And so my mum's name was Amanda Lani, and Amala is actually named after her. And I'm half Italian. For those of you listening, Harry will be able to testify to this. I don't look anything Italian, but no, I'm half Italian, and Amala, Amala. So Amala is acronym from Amanda Lani, and it actually means to love and to love her in Italian. It means
Wow.
beacon of wisdom and hope in Arabic and Hindu. So
Mhm.
the Amala group itself is, for me, a beacon of light, a wisdom and hope towards the masses to create, generational
It's
change
a
in this
circle of
world.
love, right?
Yeah, it's
Really
I'm
powerful, eh?
not just driven by money or finances. I'm driven by purpose, and that's why I mentioned, when starting your business, it's completely different to growing a business. Starting a business, you do need to get profits off the ground. You do need to get to that $1 million so you can have impact. I think too many people get into business for freedom, but the honest truth is there's a lot of other ways to become financially free than to just do business. But if you're in business to generally have impact and create generational change for yourself and others, that's where you start to see these multi-million-dollar business concepts. I've spoken to multiple 8, 9 figure entrepreneurs, quite a handful of billionaires as well, and not a single billionaire has said to me, wow, I started business to make money. They're like, I started business because I saw a gap in the marketplace. I started this business because I saw an opportunity. I grew this business to billions of dollars because I realized that we could actually genuinely have change here. Because, for me, I love the concept of helping others. I love the concept of working with high level people, but also too, I love the concept of change. So yeah, the beach is lovely. Don't get me wrong, Harry. I go there pretty much once a week with my partner. She would love me to go there more often, but for me, it's about impact and purpose.
Yeah, and I think I remember the first time at the beginning when I started the business, I'm like, I want to make a million, I want to make a million, I want to make a million. The day that I make it, even I didn't even notice that the accountant told me. And then I say, I
Yeah.
go to the beach. Yeah. And after 2 weeks, I'm bored. And then you go back to work. You know what I mean? It's no, sometimes we have this mindset, but in the end of the day, if this is what we love to be in business and to create change, this is who we are. So then, James, the other, but let's talk about this. Do you have any entrepreneurs in your family, or do you read any book, or what give you this inspiration? I know that all of us is in our genes somehow, and
For sure.
is not inherited from father or whatever. Do you have people in this podcast? We already interviewed over 500 millionaires, and you have people that they have family entrepreneurs. Some of them have none. So it's not something that it comes from your environment. This gene is there, but something spark that. In your case, something you said, okay, I'm going for it. So what was your main issue, your main spark? You were talking about your mom, but do you have a
Yep.
business before? It was that moment that was crucial for you. What really happened?
So I'll go back to childhood. So my grandfather's a very successful property developer. He's actually
Wow.
an immigrant. He's actually an immigrant from Italy. So obviously migrated from Italy.
That's
You
why
know,
you
he's
have
90
family from Italy. Yeah.
94 years of age. He grew up in a little town called Trieste, just outside of Ronchi, where he grew up. So he grew up in Trieste and Ronchi. If anyone's familiar with that, it's quite near, like near Venice, sort of that
Yeah,
sort of
yeah, yeah.
area.
I know about
And
it. Yeah.
I remember, when I was younger, it would have been like, really, really young. I remember seeing the influence in which my grandfather had while my mum was going through, chemotherapy. I remember a circumstance where it was after my mum actually died, and the local town in which he lives in Australia, which is a little town called Foster, New South Wales, which is where I grew up. They were looking for a donation for a surf lifesaving club boat to basically go and save people's lives. And one of my first instances of realizing success and money can genuinely change lives outside of that of yourself was this circumstance. So my mum had just passed. Unfortunately, no amount of money could stop her from, passing from cancer. So for my grandfather, it was that feeling of, I guess failure, or feeling of like, I worked all my life to be able to protect my family and I couldn't save my only daughter. However, I remember the surf life saving come. They came to our house and said, "Would you like to buy a raffle ticket?" So raffles over here in Australia, that's how they raise money. And my grandfather must have said yes, but then he didn't tell me, or didn't tell my nan what he said yes to. So then next, about a month or two later, we get invited to the opening of the Surf Life Saving Club. And this story makes me emotional. I've never said this on a podcast, by the way,
Oh,
Harry. It's a
thank
very
you.
personal story. But I remember, watching my grandfather. They're like, Nino, his name's Nino Lani. Nino, come to the Surf Life Saving Club. I'd love for you to celebrate, the opening of the Amanda Lani. And I said, what?
Wow.
And my nan said, what? The opening of the Amanda Lani. And Nan's like, what have you done, Nino? He didn't tell his soul, didn't tell anybody. And he basically went to the Surf Life Saving Club and he said, how much for one of the boats? I'll buy one myself and give you money for the second. So he bought a boat for the Surf Life Saving Club and said, although I couldn't save my daughter, if this donation of this boat could save one person's life, I've honored her. So in
Wow,
that
that's really
moment,
powerful.
it sparked this feeling inside of me that, they say money doesn't buy happiness, but money gives you choices for those within your life as well as others. So I realized my entrepreneurial journey had to begin for me to be able to have impact in my own life, but also pass that on. Because although at 14 years of age, I had nothing I could do to save my mum, I could then dedicate my life towards helping, motivating, inspiring, and changing others to help transform and change their life. So my entrepreneurial journey started in that moment, realizing that, hey, I'm a kid right now, but moving forward, I'm here to change the world. And there was a spark enlightened within me that I realized that the more money I make, the more impact that I can have. And again, Harry, I can't just have impact if I'm making $1 million. I can have impact on my bank account. I can buy some nice clothes, some watches, a nice house and a car, all those fun things that you get when you do your first million. But for me to have real change in this world and impact, I need to make billions. And so that's why my
Absolutely.
focus is so important.
Absolutely.
So,
Yeah.
so definitely grew up in entrepreneurship. And I thank my grandfather, would ever hear this, but I thank him every
I'm
single
sure
day.
we'll be very proud of you. Absolutely. Yeah. And I want to congratulate you for embracing it in this way because and my second question is where do you find the courage? Because unfortunately most of the people that deal with this situation, it's very easy to start to do drugs, to drink alcohol, to lose yourself into the pain because it's very painful, right? This
Yeah.
process. My cousin lost his dad, and he was telling me, Harry, it's like they cut a piece of you. Uh, this
Mm.
is this is how can I describe it? I don't have any way to describe. This is what happened. So I haven't experienced this, so I don't know. But this is what he told me. So the whole experience um, have been really difficult and painful for you. And so, where do you find the courage to find strength
So
and turn into a positive side when it's like I said, it's a difficult one because it's very easy to go to drugs, to do alcohol, to lose yourself into the pain. So, where do you find the courage?
So one thing I will say is that, the person you see here today is not the complete product of the person in which I once were. So, I did go through things. I did go through heartaches. I did go through moments of searching, drugs and alcohol, all those things that you don't want your children to do. And I did go through a self-destructive pattern. Um, Thankfully, one day, I was born a Catholic. I'm a devout Christian believer now. So I'm a man of God. I have a strong faith. Jesus is king in my eyes and God is our God. And, I'm a faith-driven man. But for many years, I went through that questioning of why. Why would God take the person that I loved more than anybody in this world? And I went through that self-discovery moment of trying to find myself, and then I engulfed myself into personal development. So I've studied neuro-linguistic programming. I've done my master's twice, Tony Robbins Medanis. I've done spiral dynamics, human psychology, sport and performance psychology. If you want to know the human brain, there's not much I haven't really studied in relation to the emotional intelligence and the connection between the neural synapses between NLP, that our words have the power in order to change. I love Anthony Robbins. I work alongside Dr. Joe Vitale, Brian Tracy. We work alongside some amazing thought leaders. So
I love Brian Tracy.
engulfed,
Amazing.
yeah. Brian's a personal friend of mine and mentor. We actually run the
Wow.
sales agency.
My girlfriend is a big fan.
Yeah, we are. We run his sales and marketing agency for his publishing company. So the truth is, I engulfed myself in self-discovery. So after losing my mum, I realized, in order to understand others, I need to first understand myself. And I went through the self-discovery phase. And my cousin, when I was 23 years of age, handed me a book. It's a very small book. And if anyone hasn't read this, it questions a lot. And it's by Viktor Frankl. It's called Man's Search for Meaning. And there's a statement inside of that book, and it says, to live is to suffer, to survive is to find meaning in the suffering. And I remember reading this book, and he was in a concentration camp in Auschwitz. And I remember sitting there and looking at myself, and I'm like, how can a man with nothing to live for have more purpose and passion than me, that a child that is grieving? And I questioned my own self, and I questioned my own reality, and I questioned sitting there saying to myself, if a man can overcome all of this, who am I to not overcome what it is that I've been through when my life is nowhere near as hard as what this man's experiencing? He lost everything, his wife, his children, every, lineage of family during Auschwitz. And I remember sitting there in that moment, it just put me on this, this track to just go and discover myself. And then fortunately, through, personal development, it led me to spiritual development. Again, Dr. Joe Vitale, thank you. The secret, spiritual development. Then eventually I went full circle and completely came back to God, my Father, and give my life to God. It's that was recently. My partner, Bernadette, lost her father last year to a heart attack. And I remember experiencing in that moment, her sitting there going, how can I support her? It was a sudden thing. She's crying. And I remember this as a 14-year-old kid. And I was like, God, I give you my life because I want you to help me to protect the person I love. And so faith is a big guider for me. There's nothing to fear in business. And I say this to people, they're like, do you not find business hard? I said, hard was watching your mum die. Business is a walk in the park.
Absolutely.
People have fear. They get too engulfed in. The only thing that holds us back in business is fear, and it's fear of failure, because we're fearing the judgment that if we fail, we are inadequate. But if you don't attempt or you don't fail forward, you will never receive the brilliance of what the universe has given to us. Like, a vision is a forward focus. And I think if you focus forward in business versus being a reflection of tradition of the past, that's how you don't have to have fear in business. So hopefully that answers that question, Harry, in a detailed way.
Yeah. And what you're describing, what you're talking is right into the main purpose why we do this podcast.
Follow us for more interviews with world's most influential, audacious entrepreneurs that overcame challenges and adversity, providing you with the blueprint of how they sold their first million so you can grow your business exponentially.